The United Nations Commission has released a report accusing the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and its leaders of crimes against humanity, crimes it's referred to the International Criminal Court. The United Nations was barred from ever entering the DPRK for this inquiry, but the stories it compiled has prompted the UN to call on the international community to address the human rights situation there. CCTV's Jessica Stone has details.
Officials from the UN's Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights interviewed about 80 witnesses through public hearings in Seoul, Tokyo, London, and Washington, D.C., and then debriefed another 240 alleged witnesses confidentially. The UN also accepted dozens of written submissions from independent human rights groups. The 400-page UN report outlines what it calls widespread abuses of the right to food, freedom of religion, and expression, and, quote, unspeakable atrocities against an estimated 120,000 political prisoners who are in captivity. The report includes these graphic cartoons drawn by a former political prisoner named Kim Kwang-il and submitted to the commission. The drawings depict prisoners being tortured, beaten, and starved.
One of the witnesses in one of the camps told of how his duties included gathering up the bodies of those who had died of starvation and putting them in a pot and burning them.
In a two-page statement sent to Reuters from its diplomatic mission in Geneva, the DPRK said the report was an instrument of political plot and, quote, the DPRK once again makes it clear that the human rights violations mentioned in the so-called report do not exist in our country. Kim Jong-un and his government did not cooperate with the year-long investigation. The commission sent him a letter last month telling him the commission plans to ask the UN to refer the allegations to the International Criminal Court and that he would ultimately be held accountable. The commission also sent a letter to the Chinese ambassador to the UN office in Geneva, Wu Haito. That letter says that DPRK citizens who escape to China and are returned to the DPRK are, quote, in danger of being subjected to torture, in some cases rape and forced disappearance, summary execution, and other gross human rights violations. Ambassador Wu wrote this response dated December 30th, 2013, to the chair of the commission, Michael Kirby. The ambassador said the DPRK citizens who enter China illegally do it for economic reasons and are therefore not refugees. The ambassador adds that, quote, China firmly opposes any attempt to make this issue a refugee one and to internationalize and politicize the issue. The UN said it would therefore appear that under the Convention Against Torture, the repatriation of North Koreans, quote, breaches China's obligations not to expel, return, or extradite a person to another state where there are substantial grounds for believing that he would be in danger of being subjected to torture. The Chinese government opposes submitting these allegations to the International Criminal Court. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson says, quote, China has always advocated resolving human rights differences through constructive dialogue and cooperation based on equality and mutual respect. Jessica Stone, CCTV, Washington.